right, everybody. Cool. I highly recommend grabbing these slides because I have a lot of slides and you're going to want to see the things I'm linking to. So that's that tiny URL. Shout out to Tiny URL for being awesome. And I don't have that much time, so I'm just going to roll through. Thank you very much for paying attention to your silence, everybody. All right. Security is a giant dumpster fire. I don't know if you know this or not, but it is. It's just one rolling, continual dumpster fire. Hey, excuse me. I'm talking up here, guys, if you wouldn't mind. Thanks. There are hallways over there if you want to have a hallway conversation. That'd be awesome. I don't know if you heard about this, but Red Hat got popped like yesterday. Like all of their GitLab instances for all their contractors are now basically open source thanks to attack threats because people didn't pay attention to the basics. Identity-based attacks are on the rise. Quite seriously, what is an identity-based attack? Someone is actually taking over another identity to do their own thing with that persona. In this case, someone could just reset WordPress admin privileges on users and take over their site. But more commonly, we're seeing things where people abuse credentials, taking API keys, database URL, connection strings, all the other secrets, and doing things like this. All of these link to actual resources out there on the internet, and that's why I told you to get the slides. In my vision of the world, this is what good security looks like. This is a family playing Monopoly. Why is this good security? Because there's nothing on fire, because they did their jobs. They actually took this seriously and nobody got called at 3 a.m. They could be home for their families. I'm Dwayne. I came out here from Chicago to give this talk. Thank you very much. I used to live at 427 Stockton, right up the street. So I love San Francisco. This used to be home. Check out my security repo podcast. It's awesome. But I've been doing DevRel for over a decade now. Started here in the Valley in San Francisco, all the companies I worked for until 2019. I work for this company now, Get Guardian. That QR just takes you to the blog post. Don't worry about it. Just go to blog. What we do will become more apparent as we go through it. As I mentioned earlier, we're seeing two different kinds of identity-based attacks now. Human, where we're phishing and getting human passwords, and non-human attacks. Non-human identities have a couple definitions out there. I'm not a huge fan of this one, but it's OWASP. Any OWASP members in the house? No worries. Open Web Application Security Framework, our security project. They build a lot of great stuff, including the top 10 lists. And they built a top 10 list for non-human identities when this definition around it. Production software environments, composed of large amount of applications which needs to be identified. All of them have secrets and some way to authenticate. I personally like the IETF's, the Internet Engineering Task Force definition, which is ongoing. As of 3 days ago, this is actually been called into question in the mailing lists. Is this the correct term? Should we further define this? A workload is a running instance of software executing for a specific purpose. In 2022, CyberArk said, hey, from our survey data, we think it's about 45-1 non-human identities to every human identity. And based on what we're here today, that's an underestimate. Here in 2025, because we're deploying things so fast, there's so much telemetry we have to pay attention to. There's so many things to observe. It's probably closer to 100-1. But now we live in the world of agentic AI, where AI is spinning up things and more identities. Remember, identity being a workload identity, a running piece of software somewhere that executes for a purpose. I don't know how many's on here. I've never counted. I just thought it looked good. But that's the problem. We don't know. And if we keep authenticating and do things the way that we have been, which looks exactly like that, where you hard code the credential, and you're probably thinking, yeah, no one hard code a credential, right? Yeah, they do a lot. It's a growing problem. So I have a prize here, a little tabletop exercise I built. We put out this report every year. So part of what my platform does is we look at every single new commit that hits GitHub public, new commits and everything that becomes public that was private. Those 1.46 billion events last year we monitored. We scan them for secrets. A secret being things earlier on the slides, API keys, username, passwords, database connection strings, basically anything that grants access. And you can read the report to get the finer details. That's the URL. We don't gate this. Just download it. Please read it. For the money, for the prize, Price is Right style. I need hands because I can't hear everybody. How many secrets do you think we found added to GitHub public just in the year 2024? And if you know the number, if you're looking at the slides, please don't answer. I'll give you, but if you do, if you already looked at the slides, I'll give you one anyway. But yeah, guesses.
Percentage, 45%.
Give me a real number. Like how many secrets actually got uploaded to GitHub public?
30,000.
30,000? 5 million? What? 9 million? 1 million? I'm going to give it to the $9,001 because it's 23.77 million. Yeah, that's just public. We know for a fact, based on our data from our customers, and we serve Fortune 500s, is that it's 8 times worse internally. 35% of all repos that we hook up to contain hard-coded credentials. So that scary thing I started with, where Red Hat got popped and 18,000 repos got popped, how many of those contain credentials? Probably 35 to 50% of them contains at least one credential. That's our guesstimate. That's what we're quoted in Bleeping or SC Media. Anyway, more terrifying fact on here is not just the 15% of all authors have done this, and it's not the fact that it grew 25% over the previous year's report and 50% the year before that. And this just keeps getting worse, folks. We send out an email to the committer right then and there. That's the pro bono emails. Say, hey, you did this in public. Please stop. But we do that. We've been doing that since 2017. So 2020, we put out the first report. We've been doing this for so long. We have a giant database of all the credentials, and we try to validate these credentials. And we can't do it across every system, but we can for a lot and say, hey, does this work? A non-intrusive call into the system. Does this credential still work? So we went back to 2022, took 11,000 of the keys that we found that were valid in 2022, re-verified them in January 2025, and 70% came back as still valid. We can build all the cool observability and telemetry stuff in the world, but when an attacker steals the database and ransoms you because you left keys laying around the database, kind of doesn't matter. Oh, credential abuse is the #1 way these attacks are happening right now. This is Verizon's data breach investigation report. The DBIR is a great document. It's a great read. It's a little lengthy, but it's written for humans by humans. It's awesome. Phishing's down. Hooray. But vulnerabilities, yeah, we're still doing a lot of vulnerabilities. We still got to patch, folks. Worse yet in that report, what are they attacking? They're attacking our web infrastructure. They're attacking our CI/CD pipelines. Why? Because they want the data. They want the machine resources. On average, once a Verizon security customer knows they have a problem, that once they know it's leaked, it still takes them 94 days to rotate. That's terrifying. So what do? If you ask Google, this document's still up. It's still my favorite all-time Google developer documents. Just re-architect. That's it. That's the entire change the credential and re-architect. Congratulations. Actually, there's a bunch of things we can do from a what do we do about our credentials problem? And that's what the rest of this talk is. So the first part was scary because you pay attention to this part. Hopefully the rest we can. The rest of it is how we can. If humans are involved in this thing, let's move to passkey. Let's get to FIDO2 everywhere. Let's make sure your thumbprint or your fingerprint and the device you own and WebAuthn and those awesome web flows work. And let's just do that, because machines don't have fingerprints. Machines can't WebAuthn. We can do a lot of really cool stuff with OpenID Connect and machines. And that's the second part. We can start moving to those kind of systems where we can move to roles when possible and eliminate the credential all out there. But let's be real. What we really have to do is figure out a way to rotate credentials on machines a lot faster. So has everybody heard of the Shai-Hulud attack out there? The NPM self-replicating worm that infected like a giant chunk of the NPM publisher network. A few weeks before that, there was the NX attack. The NX attack, NX is a AI-driven build system improvement platform that helps with PRs and helps your CI/CD pipelines. Somebody found a flaw in one of their pipelines, was able to dump a credential. A month later, injected their own code into the pipeline and infected, 18,000 repos. And the end result of that and the Shai-Hulud attack were both scrape the local developer machine for any credentials available in environment variables, any wallet keys, anything, and dump it in a double 64 base encoded strings into a file publicly on GitHub using the account that they just compromised through your GitHub OAuth token. This is ongoing. We don't know how bad the damage is. We're not sure if Red Hat's related to that. On the other hand, we would have destroyed that credential at end of day that they stole. Big whoop. They stole a credential that doesn't work anymore. That's why I'm all about this. Different secret. If you just throw a different secret where the old one was, you're resetting the clock till you blow up. We have to do something different than this. But this is the re-architect on that Google doc, that Google developer document that is, hey, just re-architect your app. Yeah, don't do this. But how do you do that? Somebody earlier said virtuous cycle, and I'm really glad they did a virtuous loop, because I think we can build virtuous loops. I'm sitting in this room today, going back and talking to your security team, going back and talking to your developers about this is the first step. We have to raise awareness. This is a problem. You heard your own guesses about how bad this problem is in public. Yeah, it's worse. It's way worse. We have to act on this now. But we need to create better processes. Tools last. This is counterclockwise. I keep meaning to fix it, but I'm just not going to. It's counterclockwise. We need to create better processes and better documentation around how do we do this at scale, and then invest in the tools, and then train people on those tools, and then get better processes, find the gaps, buy the tools, raise awareness around the problems that still exist, and keep doing that over and over again. That's not just with secrets, that's anything we're attacking. But this raises a giant, weird question. Who owns this? Does SRE own this? In my company, they do. Our SRE is in charge of credential management. They're in charge of our vaults. They're the people involved. Maybe that's different in your organization. Maybe it's DevOps. Maybe it's the devs themselves. They're managing their own. Good Lord, please don't say that's the case. But maybe the exec team actually got manually involved because you're still small enough to do it. Maybe you're large enough to have an IAM person. Who here works for a company with 5 billion revenue or more? And you probably have IAM people who report to your board. If you're smaller than that, it's less than a 45% chance that you have someone that even reports to a CISO level for it. If you're under 100 people, who owns Active Directory? Nobody knows. Why I'm injecting this here and ownership here is because everyone owns this problem. Everyone contributes to this problem, and everyone gets affected when these safeguards fail. No one's going to fix this from the security aspect the way we want them to in my line of work and the way I see the world, but everybody has something they care about. Devs care about delivery time, so let's get them deployed faster and better. DevOps cares about uptime, and SREs care about reliability. That's where I'm going to try to focus the rest of this. From the security aspect, they just want to stay out of trouble. They just want to make sure we're clean and we don't go in front of Congress. The exec team just wants to make more money, and the IAM team is trying to put governance in place. Good Lord help them. We got to get everybody on the same submarine if we're going to fix this. And I know somebody in the audience is just now thinking, what submarine are you talking about? One of my favorite books I ever read in my whole life, I'm an old sales guy, was You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. It's a great book. I highly recommend reading it. Inside the Sandler Institute, sales training is the Sandler Submarine, Sandler Sales Submarine. For any salespeople in the audience, this is gold. This is how I sold all the enterprise stuff I ever sold, as I just followed the dotted lines. Bond report, upfront contracts, paying, budget, decision, fulfillment, post-sell. Why it's a submarine is all submarines before 1973 worked off a hatch system. So if one hatch or one part of the hull got breached, you could seal off the hatch. And that section get flooded and nothing else would. They build them differently now. It's a completely different system, but this was written a long time ago. Anyway, I wrote my own. The secret security submarine. So this is the secret security end-to-end part. You got to find all your secrets, know what you have, properly store them, better tooling, continual secret scanning, and automatic rotation at scale. Finding all your secrets, this is the easy part, but it's also a huge challenge. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying it's the easiest thing off that entire list. One, all threat modeling works on knowing what you have and securing it. All telemetry works off knowing what you have and measuring it. So hopefully you're keeping track of these secrets out there, right? Y'all know exactly, your teams know exactly where these secrets live, right? They're properly storing these in the right systems that can account for these, right? No, they're not. They're scattered all over the place. We know, we have the data on this from the reports and from our customers and working with them. They're all over the place. I didn't even talk about the Jira problem and the Slack problem. It's only an 8% overlap of secrets we see in these other sources that we also see in the code base, meaning they're probably properly stored somewhere. But the feedback we get whenever we ask our customers, like, why are you seeing things in Jira? They're like, most likely it's efficiency. We're just trying to get the tickets closed and we're trying to pass on the responsibility, the database connection URL to the next person so they don't have to look it up, so we can get done quicker and solve this problem faster. But then you have things like Uber, who got pwned by a 19-year-old. Anybody get fired from Uber over that? Still looking for somebody that actually lost their job. They put up 60 job postings the next month when they got popped because their Slacks got flooded with memes. But anyway, this is the easiest one to solve because there are tooling that just magically does this for you and will find it for you. I have a personal favorite on this list, GitGuardian. We put that same detection engine that we put to public, we can put that to your internal systems like that. Give you historical scans to get a baseline within a couple hours, depending on how big. We're talking like that's gigs. If it's smaller than that, probably minutes, and then active monitoring after that. Everybody else does generally the same idea. If you're pure open source, truffle hog and Git leaks are your best friends. And if you want to build it your own self, good luck. I wouldn't. But now we know where your secrets are. That still doesn't solve the problem. We still got to do the rest of it, right? Properly store them. Secret managers. Who here knows the name of all the vaults that you have deployed within your organization? Yeah, secret sprawl is a very real thing. Secret managers work magically like this. You put the secret in a place where it's encrypted in rest, and then you pull it in at runtime when needed into memory from the program. That's it. That's all it does. There's a bunch of these out there on the market from the cloud provider side. They're all work. They're all great. They do their job. AWS does some really cool stuff where it can go cross-platform now with secrets everywhere. But there's also systems that completely dedicated to going cross-platform, going cross-system, hybrid environments, on-prem. CyberArk, I don't have a favorite. I do cite CyberArk quite a bit, and we work with them quite a bit, but I wouldn't say they're better than anybody else. Your mileage may vary. So get all the secrets that are not vaulted into the vault. That's a good place. That's a good place to start, because this is how you get them out of the vault is you make a call. Ignore the rest of the code. That's just the example HashiCorp made to say, yes, in fact, the vault is working, but you write a path. Now you have to change that hard-coded credential to the path. How do we do that? Manually, of course, but can't we write a script for that? Yeah, it turns out we can develop better developer tooling. I think this is true. Developers want to go fast. Security tooling, by definition, makes you go slower. It puts up red flags and says, hey, you did it wrong. And I've never met a developer who likes security tools. Just never done. I also never met a developer who really likes linting. They appreciate linting, but they don't like it. Same thing. But we can meet them in the middle from the security aspect. And this is where I challenge you to go back to your security teams and ask them, how can you make my life better? How can you make me do my job easier? How can you ensure that the easy way, the laziest way, is the way that keeps us in policy? And if they don't have a good answer for you on that, you might question your security team overall. And I'm not lying or saying anything bad about your current security team, but they should be working with you to make the easiest path the safest path. Because this is real. I have customers that do this. They have employees that try to commit a secret. And if the secret doesn't, instead of committing the secret, the script will catch it at the pre-commit phase, go and see a lookup. Does this secret already exist in a vault? If it does, just return to me the vault call, the path into the vault. Let's swap out the line that has that credential with a line that has that vault call. Then we can commit that. If it doesn't exist in the vault, let's go ahead and stuff it in the vault, bring me a path back, and we'll commit that. Once it goes through the pipeline, let's rotate. I know this works because we built this 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago with CyberArk. This is a reference implementation. We called it Brimstone. They called it something else. We do this commercially now. The tooling exists. The future is here. It's just not evenly distributed. We can give that, if we can stop hard coding credentials, period, and there's a better path. Of course, we're going to mess up. Of course, we're human. So we still need to continually scan, but I'm not going to talk anymore on that because it's the same as before. Just keep looking in places. The last part seems like a magic trick. Automatic rotation at scale. Except it's not. It's so much not a magic trick that AWS already wrote all the lambdas for you if you're on AWS secrets. Like, you don't have to write anything. Just drop it in and just go. If you're on they have awesome blog posts. It's not just AWS. I just picked theirs because I like AWS. And they're the largest part of the market. But there's tons of options for you out there. And there's tons of blog posts that explain how to do this in depth, tons of tutorials. This is true of those other systems as well. I'm picking on CyberArk here. The only requirement is the systems you're trying to rotate the credential through should have an API endpoint that lets you revoke and replace a credential, or make a new credential, revoke the old one, and replace the credential that's in use. So replace and revoke. Or no, new one and revoke. Those are the two options you need. It's 2025. Why are you using systems that can't do that? That's my question. There are a lot of legacy systems that can't. I get that. But those are going to be edge cases in our world because the vast majority of systems should be able to do this. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, that is going to take a lot of teamwork and a lot of time together. And we're going to have to muddle through a lot of nonsense on that. And there's enterprise costs. Who's going to pay for this? There's another option. It's in the inevitable future that we're marching toward, whether you like it or not. It's coming and it's awesome. And you're going to love it. It's called Federated Identities. Who here knows what Spiffy is? Awesome. Secure production framework for everyone. Secure production identity framework for everyone. Forgot the I. This has existed for 8 years. This came out of the guts of Google, written in the Netflix office, like not by by Netflix employees, but not for Netflix originally, 8 years ago. Idea is pretty straightforward. We can cryptographically prove what is true and secure when an entity is born. We know all the details we need to make to say that thing is that thing at the time of birth. So inject with an API key, or with an API, inject an identity. Give it a namespace. Give it an identity. Wrap that inside of a certificate that a certificate authority can keep renewing over that same API. And then when it goes to cross a trust boundary into your systems, hey, can we trust this identity? Let's go check the CA. Cool, this lets you in. Does that sound like OAuth to anybody? It is. This is based on OAuth. This is OAuth for machines at scale. Federate your servers and all. There's an awesome book. If I could recommend one book that everyone in tech has to read, it's this one, spiffy.io/book. Imagine saving your developers 5 hours a week on average and reducing all of those tickets for, oh, the clock died up here. I have no idea how much time I have now. I think I have about 6 minutes. I think that's what it just died. If you're like, I don't want to read a 198-page book that can tell me how developers can save time and headache and stop future bugs, there's a whole awesome video that Matthias and Tom did last year, 2024's Cloud Native Security Con, that used cute turtles to tell this. You show this to a kid and they would get a good kick out of about half of it. And you could teach them good identity practices. The other half is code samples. We're like, okay, Spiffy's cloud native. That's cool. Hey, remember earlier I mentioned the IETF? Yeah, they're working on this too at scale as a protocol. The people that maintain HTTP, IP, TCP, those standards that we all rely on every day, they're building that right now. We're on draft 4 and it's an active conversation going on. You could join if you really want to. I have nothing to really add to the conversation, but I am monitoring it closely. There's a few working groups right now that are working on this. Spice, Skit, there's a few. But the one I'm paying the most attention to is Whimsy, because it's the ideas of Spiffy applied to the rest of the internet. I showed you that. And you're like, okay, that sounds futuristic and we're not done with the standard yet, except we're close enough that it's in Kubernetes already. Who knows that they can use federated identity to do image pulls in Kubernetes as of May? Yep, you can do short-lived automatically rotated tokens for image pulls as of the 1.33 release. It's there. We're here. Again, the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Part of my mission and why I give talks all over the country. I gave a talk in Philly earlier to the DevOps community. I'm giving a talk next week to, where will I be next week? I'll be somewhere. CornCon, I'll do the security community, something similar. That's in Iowa. But pretty much every platform supports this already. I don't know a lot of people that do this already, but Entra, Workload Identity Federation, IAM roles anywhere for AWS, Cloud, Google Cloud, Workload Identity Federation. These articles exist, the documentation already exists, it's fully supported. You don't use those, there's commercial off the shelf like Aquilus and Hashi and Cyber. Teleport, if you've never heard of, look into. You want to get to Spiffy tomorrow? It's not going to be tomorrow, but they'll get you there a lot faster. I don't work for Teleport. I just think they're doing really cool work supporting the open source projects around workload identity. But you can't get there until you go through the submarine first, until you get to a point where you even understand what machine identities exist. Why I harp on secrets and why I talk about NHI and secrets interchangeably is I see the world as very pragmatic. I really don't care what the identity is if I'm an attacker. I don't care if it's a database. I don't care if it's a workload. I don't care. I know I only care if it gives me access that I can further my goals. Can I laterally slide around your system if I have access? The secret, I keep telling people I work with, the I is the least important letter in IAM. A is the most important letter, followed by M, followed by I. But no one's going to call it access management identities. That's dumb. We can get there though. We've helped a lot of companies do this. Even if you're not going to go to federated identities anytime soon, just understanding what secrets you have even if you don't use my product, I don't care. Go do this exercise. Go figure out where you have leaked secrets and understand your exposure. So when your security team says, hey, by the way, all of our databases got leaked and all of our source code is now available on the dark web, you'll know what you need to guard against. You'll know what you need to rotate. Don't be Cloudflare in 2023 where they thought they had rotated everything, but because of the Okta breach, they had to shut down and reboot everything and rotate over 5,000 keys manually within a day. And a Cloudflare here lived through that. Talked to a couple Cloudflare reps in my life that were like, yeah, that was really bad days. Agentic AI is making this move a lot faster. Not just that we're deploying more, but the types of identities we're dealing with. Whew, if they're still relying on overprivileged credentials that live forever, game over. Like, it's that bad from a security standpoint. But it's not hopeless. We can fight this. We can change this. And we can get back to the point where we can not have to respond to our pagers at 3 a.m. and not constantly fight fires and not wake up to new hells every day in the security world. And we can focus on what we love to do and the people we love and how we want to actually spend our time. Thanks for listening to me. I'm Dwayne. I come from Chicago. I help people figure stuff out. It's my whole mission in life. Check out my LinkedIn. Check out Geek Guardian. We do awesome stuff, not just discover secrets, but also we can help map all of where your secrets are across your vaults. We call that vault sprawl, where you don't know how many vaults you have. We can help with that discovery, and we can help map everything that's in there and then give you a true full inventory of all of your secrets and all of the identities they map to and all the systems they connect to, and then various states based on metadata, including IAM data. But those are slides. I highly recommend it because all the links I talked about really quickly are all buried in the speaker notes. So there you go. Thanks.
Questions?
I think everybody's just ready for beer.
There you go, Mike.
Appreciate it. If there's already so many secrets out and GitHub repos, what is the solution? Can you really, if nobody's really changing anything in the end, you still need people to adopt better policies?
Yeah. The answer is, do you want people to take down your company? Like, if it's already game over, go work in a grocery store, man. Like, honestly, we have to keep fighting the fight. But the reality is attackers aren't going to quit. And I'm not worried about nation states. They're going to get in, they're going to backdoor, they're going to keylog, they're going to do all sorts of crazy stuff with your devices you can't dream of. But that's not the majority of crime. The DBIR, it's like 80% of crime is organized gangs that are basically script kiddies. They'll figure out an exploit, post it on Pastebin, and then go into Roblox forums and recruit 14-year-olds to go pull it off. People go to jail every day for money laundering around this stuff. This isn't a theoretical, oh, let's be safe to be safe. This is, we're shutting down hospitals here, people. Like, we have to get a handle on this. So uptime's nice, but when you get pwned and it's something you could have prevented just by going to short-lived. Is anybody here published on NPM? Anybody? Yeah, the rule changes coming, right? Like, you saw those from GitHub, like 7-day mandatory expiration, no 2FA bypass locally. They're bringing the hammer down. Like, Shiloh can't happen again. Like, the war isn't over. We're never going to win security, but we can get ahead of it. But we're going to have to do it. And NPM and GitHub are like finally saying, okay, we have to be serious about this. Short-lived credentials or don't publish.